guys, this is Streamer Carlos. On today's video, I'm going to give you my review of your friendly hood Spider-Man. Now, guys, why do I say hood? I know it's supposed to be neighborhood, and I know it is, but just for my video title's sake, for me to upload the video, this video, I can't put the whole word of neighborhood because there's a word title limit of YouTube that I can only do 100 words. So that's why I decided to not include the neighbor part of neighborhood. So that's why I went with just hood. So I'm telling you this so you don't get confused. so when you are looking for my videos, just to give you a preview of what's coming. So if you see one of my videos that is uploaded from this series, don't be alarmed. When you see your friendly hood Spider-Man. I mean hood by neighborhood. So here we go. Here we go, guys. I actually love this first episode of the 2-episode premiere. And by the way, the first episode is called, at least for me, a funny toxic hair start, and crushed by pearls, or crushed by pearl. And here's what. So to officially begin this, I love the comic, the 1960s comic book style of the show. That's the first thing. Second, unlike the normal origin of how our beloved nerd from New York, meaning Peter Parker, got his Spider-Man powers, in this origin power story, he got it from seeing the chaos that ensued when when the blue skies of New York were interrupted by a strange hole that from that hole came out a unique version of Peter's one of his greatest nemesis as Spider-Man, Venom. And this version of Venom was Venom, but he was more hunched over, and he had a little bit of hair. So what I'm trying to get from this, guys, at the end of this, is thanks to this strange hole appearing up in the blue skies of New York, made by a random hole that we would later come to find out it was a world hole, or a wormhole that obviously this version of Venom escaped from, and who came to save the day, and Peter was shocked by this. Doctor Strange himself, the Sorcerer Supreme. So out of this fight, that Harry version of Venom, Harry version and bend over version of Venom as well. One of in obviously Venom in one of his hairs that fell out of his body. A spider, obviously a little spider, was living in Venom's hair, and unfortunately for Pete, but good fortune for us. Meaning, if we were in 1960s New York, he got bit. He got bit by this tiny hair follicle spider from Venom's body, from Venom's hair follicle in his body, and that's how Peter became Spider-Man. Unlike the common way that we have seen Peter become Spider-Man. Obviously, the classic version is that Peter gets bitten by a radioactive spider, but this time they switched it around. But Marvel, MCU TV, MCU ATV, and what I mean by ATV animation television, they switched it up. It was because of Venom. And then we skip a few months later, and Peter is doing well, and there's a new character. There's a new character in the series, Nico. Peter's blue-haired girlfriend, not girlfriend, but a friend who's a girl. And at first, when Peter gets bitten, or before he gets bitten by Venom's hair follicle tiny spider, obviously it's Peter's first day of his new and awesome nerdy advanced school. And Nico introduces herself, but when Peter gets bitten, Nico thinks that when he says "ouch" or when he reacts to the bite of Venom's this funny version of Venom, funny hunched over and Harry version of Venom. When Peter says "ouch," Nico thinks that Peter is a total, a careless nerd with no heart, meaning that he's mean, that he's being mean. But but then obviously Peter fell to the ground and was unconscious, but he was able to just open his eyes a little bit, and he was able to see that Venom's tiny hair follicle spider was the one that took a bite of his neck, and actually Venom's hair follicle tiny spider hair follicle spider, I think, if I can remember, got inside, was able to get his creepy little self into a pocket of Peter's backpack. So a few months later went by. A few months later have passed by, and Peter is doing great now that he has these now that he is fully now that he's officially fully adapted to be a highly skilled nerd with spider powers. And of course, just like the classic version of Peter Parker, Pete in the 1960s is in this modern version of 1960s New York Spider-Man. New York, Peter is late for school, and he needs a ride from Aunt May. Now Peter's Spider-Man costume is not the one that we're used to, the blue and red. It's a modified early version, an early first drafted or first sewed version of the Spider-Man costume. Obviously Peter wears his mask, and it's kind of a blue, kind of a bluish, kind of a bluish coat type of costume with obviously the mask, obviously the classic mask that we know and love, and his web shooters. But his web shooters don't come from his hands. They come from his modified suit. His first drafted suit, meaning that Peter has installed web shooting triggers, in his sleeves, or near his suit sleeves. And guys, and in his first encounter, with criminals slash bullies in this case, he meets Harry. Yes, that same Harry that later becomes his friend, Harry Osborn. But Harry doesn't give his full name, but we know it's Harry. Hey, Peter saves Harry from criminals that have him trapped in an alley with a dead end corner, and he's like crouching. Harry's crouching in a corner and saying, to these bullies slash criminals, that he doesn't have money to give them. So these two bullies decide to beat him up. But the first bully, who is the main bully that wants to hit Harry, tells his co-bully to film him beating the heck out of Harry. Then we see Peter come to the rescue of Harry, and after beating up the main bully, and the second bully who was filming the first bully trying to intimidate and slash beat up the holy heck out of Harry. Peter takes the camera takes the camera, and you can see and on the camera you can see, or on the phone slash camera of the camera phone, you can see that there's a lot of hearts being put on the social media app from the phone, meaning that the second bully was live streaming the beat up, meaning that Peter in the fastest way possible, he became a hero, which he totally is, from saving Harry, but he became a social media hero because he says, thank you for all the likes, guys. Thank you for all the likes, guys. And remember, I'm your friendly Nate. If you need any help, if you need any assistance, you can give me a what up. A what up, because I'm your friendly hood Spider-Man. Then we see Peter in his class, late to one of his classes, where his former babysitter crush was in with, of course, Nico was in the class with Peter, with her favorite nerd from New York. And of course Peter is now he's at the perfect age of liking girls like Pearl, who was his babysitter at the time, but he was 11 and she was 14. But Nico could sense that Peter is starting to have a crushy sense on Pearl. But here's the problem. But there's one problem. There's two problems actually. Peter is too awkward and too nervous to talk to Pearl. Second, Peter finds out by his own eyes that Pearl has a boyfriend named Lincoln. Lonnie Lincoln, who is the quarterback, who's the star quarterback of the high school. And obviously Peter sees that he can't compete with a quarterback. And to make matters worse, one of his new teachers at this high school tells Peter's class and Nico's class that the first assignment is going to be a team assignment, and I'm going to need you to be partnered up. So to make matters worse, Lonnie Pearl's hunk of a quarterback boyfriend picks Peter to be his partner in this first assignment. And to make matters even worse for Peter, Lonnie is not only a cool dude and not an arrogant and I'm not not at all an arrogant meathead. He's also a nerd. Not not quite at the level at the level of Peter, but he's he's smart. He's smart, and he actually says, and actually Lonnie says to Peter, I know it's not usual to see a quarterback to a quarterback like me be smart as well as athletic, and Peter becomes fast friends with Lonnie. Then we see Peter. Then we hear siren. Then we see. Then later in one of his other classes, Peter can hear commotion outside, meaning police cars, chasing and police sirens going off. So he raises his hand, and he tells his teacher, one of his new teachers again, that he needs to go to may I go to the bathroom. And that may I go to the bathroom is code for I need to stop whatever's going on and be Spider-Man just for a little bit. And then eventually Peter stops the commotion, and he stops two delinquents who were commandeering a van, and he stopped them first by pulling the back fender from the van with the plates, and that momentum of Peter's sticky way of stopping, meaning with his webs, basically scared the holy spiders out of these two, and they were able to stop their van, the stolen van before it hit innocent pedestrians. And of course after Peter stopped these two delinquents, the group of people that saw Peter's heroics were taking pictures and Peter soaked it all in. Then we see a very interesting thing which I loved about this episode. We see Lonnie walking home, and then a police sirens going off. And here's what I mean by that. That this part of this episode showed a little bit of what the 1960s for African Americans African Americans look, what the 1960s was like for African Americans, even though it was, even though, even though, even though the show, even though the show is drawn in a new modern 1960s style. It in this scene it which and here's why I love this part of this part of this episode, because even though the style of the show is a new version, a cool version, meaning color scheme wise, a 1960s modern colored version of Spider-Man. It still showed, or it still shows. It still showed the fear that African Americans like Lonnie felt, and the type of isolation that many African Americans during the time of MLK felt and feel. So that's why. No, that's why this scene struck a chord with me. Not only in a historical, not only in a U.S. history, not only in a U.S. history way, but in a social way too. So that brings attention to even though that the show has a cool color scheme of the 1960s, it still showed what African Americans had to deal with in the 1960s. Isolation and pure fear of getting arrested by the police just by the color of their skin, and by how other people looked at them that weren't like them. Then just to end this wonderful first episode of your friendly hood Spider-Man, guys. Peter comes home to Aunt May, and someone is talking to Aunt May, and that person introduces himself, and he says he's Norman Osborn. Yes, that same Norman that I hope we get to see later become, as we know him as, the Green Goblin. But that's how we first get introduced to Norman Osborn. So, and Peter too. And that's how this wonderful first sticky episode of your friendly hood Spider-Man ends. So with that being said, guys, let me know in the comments if you want to, what was your favorite part of this first episode of this 2-episode premiere of Your Friendlyhood Spider-Man, and let me know. And also let me know, do you like the art style of Your Friendlyhood Spider-Man? And with that being said, guys, thank you for watching. Remember to leave a like, and guys, last night, Matilda, my dramatic family, my dramatic family of Hendrickson had an awesome first night or opening night. So even though I didn't get to see you guys there, I hope that you go out and support my dramatic family today and tomorrow. So with that being said, guys, thank you for watching. Remember to leave a like, and Wakanda forever. Bye.